us humans live our life in this wonderful illusion that only 3D exists around us. And we only use the five senses mainly to prove this fact that, well, if I can't see it or I can't touch it, well, then it doesn't exist. But in actual fact, when Rob and I have been working with the guides, and we knew this before anyway, we are actually multidimensional beings living in many, many dimensions. And this is what we're going to talk about. So, welcome to the Shifting Realities podcast. I'm your host, Julie Allison, and with me is my co host and friend, Robert Perry.
Hi there.
So, what do we mean by we are multidimensional beings? Well, we're talking here, we're going to have this discussion based on the fact of Rob and I's experiences with our multidimensional guides. Plus, we're also going to talk about not just what we found, but there are famous people out there are films out there, all giving us that little snippet of reveal. And we just have to start looking, opening, bringing out the horizons, opening ourselves up, surrendering to the fact that, we might not be the only human, the only intelligent life form in existence, and the only life form that might just speak English and a few other languages. So I'll start off with Rob. Rob's got a lovely analogy, lovely information that all the things he knows about Shakespeare. So do you want to start, Rob, with that?
I can do. I don't want this to be a lecture about Shakespeare, because
I
that's
know,
really not the point.
I know.
We were talking, Julia, about
Yeah.
the fact that multidimensionality is not new.
Yes. Oh,
And
yes,
come the
yes.
scientific revolution or the industrial revolution, we managed to beat it out of ourselves and not accept it because we couldn't, as you said earlier, we couldn't taste it, touch it, or smell it, or feel it. But if just go back to Shakespeare, a mere 400 years ago, and Shakespeare's writing plays that everyone understands and
Mm,
gets. So when people disappear into a wood, and when elemental spirits and humans of all sorts of social strata meet and cause confusion and mind-bending alterations happen, and as dawn comes at the end of that day, there is reality and truth. This is something that the people in the Globe Theatre or wherever any play was given would have got. They would have questioned
yes.
that at all.
Yeah.
Absolutely normal. So go back and back and back, go back to Greek mythology, go back to earlier mythologies. They all deal with interdimensional being, our own place in the chain of interdimensionalism, how we can impact it, how we can influence it, how we can use it, and what it has done to the world over many, many centuries. The important thing, of course, is that time is irrelevant in all this. If you look to the ancient gods as they come down to us now in mythological writing, these were beings that came from somewhere that was not explained, who
Mm,
lived for thousands of years and lived with hybrid creatures, lived with humans, interbred. So we're talking about various realities that we have managed to blot out. And if you simply open yourself to the possibility that things are not necessarily what they seem, and if you're lucky enough to have got to a point where you can work with your guides, you can find this out for yourself by traveling wherever you choose to travel. There are portals available. You can just
mm,
hop on a portal
mm.
as you would hop on a wave on a surfboard and go someplace. And like that surfboard, sometimes you'll fall off, and sometimes you'll have an absolutely great run into the beach, and you'll experience something that will change you. I had those experiences when I was very little and didn't understand them at all. When I would go through an experience where time and place bent. So I would be doing something completely innocuous, and then I would be somewhere else in a different time frame, in a different place, but in the same place. So I was still me. I was still connected to me, but I was able to go to another reality and to come back. One occasion I got completely lost and kindly strangers took me back to my parents. So things happen. But that allowed me, I guess I was 3 or 4 when those happened, allowed me a lifelong understanding that there is endless possibility in dimension, in existence, in time structures, this whole thing that time is a human construct. It's a linear construct that we've invented because it's quite useful. So you and I meet on a Tuesday morning at 9:30, and we know that because we use the time to tell that. And that's fine for us, but it's irrelevant in the grand scheme of things. Because if you intersurf into another dimension, there isn't any time at all. Perhaps that dimension has its own version of time that we don't currently understand. I can't answer that one yet. Maybe one day I'll be able to answer that one.
Yeah, I know there's people around, Rob, that you get to a certain frequency, get to the sort of heightened frequency, altered state of mind, and you can bend time, you can manipulate the time. Something that would feel like an hour to somebody else could just feel like 20 minutes. Literally, you would see the time, see the clock go, and it's only 20 minutes gone. And we know some of this because during the day if we're doing something that's such good fun, the time goes so quickly. You do think, well, where on earth has this time gone? And in the 3D reality, there is an element of that because where everything's heightened, all the frequencies are getting higher. There is also the fact that time is speeding up in the 3D, it's not in the 3D reality, but it still feels like, I want to say, it's an illusion because it's just here, as Rob said, just for humans to work through. Because also when we don't enjoy ourselves, when there's something else going on and it's a really long day and you're not doing much or you're bored, the time goes so slow. Or you're waiting for something, doesn't the time go so slow? And it's just exactly the same time in this 3D world. It goes in exactly the same format. But there's so many things then that means you can do with time. If we can choose to manipulate time, should we, if we want. But a lot of this slightly comes down to a belief because we go, oh no, you can't do that. That's not possible. But this is where we need to open and expand ourselves up. There are plenty, it has been done. There are plenty of people who can bend time. Even in, we don't even have to think about it. Even in, let's say, businesses, you want to set up a business, there's this old belief where lots of people have said, oh, well, you won't do well in the first year. It'll take you, over a year, and lots of businesses fail. So can you see that spell around time? But why not choose instead to go, no, my business is going to be set up in whatever X amount of weeks. And whatever that means to you, if it's a business that's set up in weeks with one customer, it's a business. And you can choose from that what you want to do, and you can allow a year to go past and not know what to do about it to set up your business, or you can really demand and say and command yourself to go, I'm going to set this business. And this is where we can also say it's already happened. But literally, if you want something in this world, you can bring in that other version, that other reality of you into this dimension. But what we also can do here is start to understand as well. Let's go into the realms of multidimensional beings, and the beings that we connect with when we talk about going to the galactics, for instance. Because how many of us actually, or how many of people have I spoken to who I dare say I'm an alien, or I'm galactic, I can connect with the galactics. Because for most people, it's this thing that they don't believe it. It's so closed in the logical mind and what exists in 3D that we're not expanding things out there. And there's a lot of things around as well to create suppression. We look, we do look to the other planets, even in our solar system. And if it's not in 3D, if we're not seeing those, blue beings with three heads in 3D, therefore they might not exist. But I think you were saying on the news last night, Rob, about Mars, weren't you? About, some things in the
Absolutely, yeah.
3D.
Absolutely. I mean, a couple of years ago, Mars was a dead planet. There was no life on that
Mm.
end of the scientific story. Then, a few years after that, there might be a suggestion that Mars has had water because it has erosion on the surface. But there's nothing there now. Turned on the news last night, and now there is water under the crust of the surface of Mars. So where there is water, there is life in our 3D thinking. But if 10 years ago there was no life on Mars, and if last night suddenly there is life on Mars, however primitive it might be, why can I not then accept that there is life everywhere?
Mm.
And that my failure to intercept it and to cross dimensions and to interact with it is just that. It's there. How on earth is it not?
Mm.
What thinking do people have that suggests that we slightly tragic 3D people who grovel through this density of Earth are the final solution to life? There are far superior life forms out there to us. And somewhere along the line, there will be inferior life forms to us.
Oh, yeah. Mm.
On its own journey.
Mm.
So there is so much knowledge to be had out there if you can just accept that there may be other things living in other dimensions that you can access and who would like to access you and talk to you and show you healing techniques and show you scientific breakthroughs and show you the truth as we suggest it now and don't fully know it. That all the knowledge in the world is out there all the time in different dimensions, and you just have to reach out and take it. Yeah. Trust it's there, trust yourself that you can do it, and help yourself, because it's all happened before and it's all happening now, and it will all happen in the future because there isn't a time construct.
Yeah.
That's very confusing.
It is quite mind-blowing, isn't it? But this is
Mm.
what, when we hear people and they want to connect with guides, and we always say, but you need a reason, and that's because the guides are ready for us when we're
Yeah.
ready to see and ready to open our minds way above the logical mind and way beyond what our ego wants us to keep safe with. And we can take our consciousness in a safe way. We can take our consciousness to anywhere on this earth or in this, in the cosmos, anywhere in the cosmos. So there's plenty of time when guides have shown us what where we were in the, what planet we're from, where's home for a lot of us. And in order to do that, we have to absolutely open our minds and go, and the old adage, go within, sit in the
Yep.
stillness for that, and allow the guides to take us, really surrendering, because there is so much out there that is actually beyond the construct of this 3D. And this is why it's hard to actually tell people, explain to people what it really feels like. But it's just the most amazing experience when you have this experience with the guides. And we can see all sorts. You see many different versions of guides, many different species, if you want to call it that, of guides. My only, the thing I feel sad about is if we cannot, on this earth right now, where we cannot say, live with other human beings in a compassionate and loving way, why would you think that other guides are going to present themselves to you, even in the 3D, to how we can see them, without them being shot at, put on the table, taken into a lab and put on a table, or being, sort of executed or talked against or whatever. So they are very not wary of that, because they're they don't even, there's no need for them to, come down to our primitive level, because when you see what happens with the guides and what they show us in terms of healing, in terms of healing modalities, in terms of healing chambers, temples, all sorts of things that we can get there. I've got some tablets hidden on there that I've put there with my consciousness through my DNA, all sorts of things that are lovely and hidden, kept away, all ready to be revealed. But that just seems so way out to a lot of people. But this is where Rob and I just want to get things out there, because because I just cannot explain how fascinating it is, how wonderful it is, and how, the whole point of this is for humans to rise up, for humans' consciousness to raise, humans to ascend, whatever it is you want to be. That humans should not be here right now struggling and just, striving to get by in life. That is what we see. We on the other side, when you look from a bird's eye view on Earth, that is what we look at, without any judgments, without any fear, without any emotions. In fact, that's what the guides see, and just see that we are struggling and that we need help from them to understand how to, how to thrive and not struggle, how to live this life in the way that we always should have been, and was before, and will be again, because everything is happening at once. That's a very big thing to get your heads round. It comes in line, again, there's few reveals in the 3D, with some people who will have had either downloads of, or will have had interactions with other people, such as, those that write Doctor Who, and you've got a TARDIS, and when you go into the TARDIS, it's hard to understand that in that, you're almost going into another dimension where it's just far bigger than the TARDIS, and that actually exists. So what I want to see is, when we look at things, when we get taken with the guides, those things do exist. There's all sorts of things, like in, the little reveals in Men in Black, for instance, in the film Men in Black, which was on the other night as a reminder, where the message is about a galaxy that needed to be saved, so that it would, so there wasn't the destruction of the worlds. But this galaxy, they said, was on Orion's belt. And of course, what happens is people are looking at the stars, Orion. In actual form, this galaxy was just in a marble on a cat that was called Orion. And it's where, even in the film, it was a dog talking to them, as it would be in that film, and saying, like, you humans, you just think everything's too logic, and too, just it as it is, because it has to look like something, and be like something. And that's a lot of conditioning, because, as Rob said, it's not just something that's been revealed in the last 20 years or so. It has been around for years, and in fact thousands and thousands of years ago, as with the Egyptians and or some of the other, the other races, um, they already knew that, and they didn't question it. There was no social media to tell you any different, so you had more time to do the going within there. Yes, I love H.G. Wells' Time Machine, and in actual fact,
Yeah,
what happened to me the other week, so this is, looking at both where other people have H.G. Wells could not have got the time machine without having some kind of download, or some kind of looking out to see what
for
else
sure.
other people were doing. And the other week, when I was at the Rudston Monolith, which I go to now as often as I can, one of my favourite spots to connect with the monolith and see what healing I need to do, and see what healing the monolith can give us, what information the monolith can give us. And whilst I was there is a house opposite that is the old schoolhouse. And this is how easy things can be with the guides. I just thought to myself, without any outcome, attached to the outcome, I just thought, I wonder what it looks like in, say, I don't know, the 1600s or whatever. Again, I didn't really think about the time, but just imagine, in the what we would call the history in the past, what everything would look like, how, the children coming out of the school, and were they healthy, and was there some healing we needed to do there. And so I just got the information from my guides. Why don't you just have a look, Julie? And they sort of presented to me almost an imaginary time machine. And this is a lovely thing that we think you can do. This is something you can do right now, whether you want to sit in your house doing it, or you want to go out into the countryside, out to the beach, wherever you want to be. Just sit in your time machine, just have, yeah, no comebacks on whether it's going to work or not work, or whether this is going to be all right, and what's the time machine going to look like. You decide what your time machine's going to look like. It could be that it has a light on it and you're shining your light on what's going on. And so what you see here is the guide showed me these children coming out of the school at a certain point in history, as we would understand it as a human, and they looked quite poorly. They looked quite poorly dressed. That could just be my interpretation, and they also looked poorly fed, but they're all coming out of the school anyway. And there was a few other things went on. But what the guide showed me there is that's because it's happening. All of that is happening. It's just what we would feel is in a different dimension. So you can look at that at any point in time. And the reason for this was, I think the guide was just preparing me and just showing me, well, you can look at this for healing, or you can look at this for other reasons. And so at the time, there wasn't particularly a reason. It was just so lovely to be sat in my etheric time machine. Mine was made of light, so I could shine the light on. It was made of diamonds, actually, because diamonds are a lovely thing to be able to shine your light. There's such a variation on the spectrum of crystal, of the colours and the form, that you can look out and see many things in different dimensions. And because of the structure of diamonds as well. But yeah, you can just sit in your time machine right now, whatever that might be. Just ask for whatever, what your house, what the land looked like, or what your house was like, what it looked like, I don't know, in the 1500s or 1600s. And just set your imagination wild and don't expect anything. Just sit there. If it doesn't happen the first time, do it again. Or if it doesn't happen in one place, go to somewhere else and do it again. And it happened the first time with me because there wasn't anything about, oh, I don't think I'll see it. There wasn't anything in me that didn't think I would see something. It was just, what happened was, the guide showed me it's a really lovely, fun way of doing it. I really enjoyed sat in my time machine and looking out at what was happening. And so since then I've done a few other bouts of sitting in with the guides and my little time machine, and looking at some other things in different places, because it's all happening around us. So yeah, we want you to know that happens. We want you to know as well about, another experience I had with portals, and that portals are just around us all the time. Portals are not new. Portals are nothing to be particularly frightened or in fear of. They're just doorways to other dimensions, and that's another way we can reach other dimensions. I had an experience where I was just I have a drum and I'm just practicing and learning about it, and I was just banging on my drum, and it was just the next day where I had I just thought there was something looking at me from across the room. I just had that kind of like a little premonition thing of, oh, something's not right here, something's looking at me. And this is all through third eye at the time. It's not in the 3D at all, because I don't expect things to be 3D. I love looking at other, the other realms, the other dimensions as well. And it was almost like a little golem, I want to say, that type of being. And in actual fact, he's become good friends with me. I did send him back through the portal. We closed the portal. Oh, lovely. All absolutely fine and lovely and dandy. But of course, for most of us, we wouldn't even know that happens. And do not be afraid. Don't mean to say if you bang a drum, you're going to open a portal. It was just something that the guides, it's obviously, again, in preparation. they knew I wouldn't be in fear. They knew it was safe for me to tell me about it. They probably just allowed it to happen as I was practicing my drum. And know that we've lived for thousands and thousands of years with other creatures, living amongst us, and that might be something else we'll do for another time. Whether that's not quite something for this session, because it might be even more mind-blowing. But yeah, it's just all sorts that might be going on. People are starting to do things like see with the third eye, in the third, in the in the mind's eye, portals, other beings, other existences. And that's just because we're raising our consciousness, raising our vibration frequency right now. And so Rob and I are here to help people understand that a bit more. For anybody who's in fear, just to say, never be in fear. It's so fascinating. It's literally, I can't believe I'm obsessed with it all, because there's so much that can happen and so much that can be, and it's changed my life knowing that there's things we can do with time, things we can do with through other dimensions, the things that other beings can show us. And so this is what we want for you.
We do indeed.
All right.
And I would urge people as well, because a lot of people say to me, I'm just making this up, it's just my imagination.
Yeah.
Imagination is the most extraordinary thing. And we disimagination very quickly as if it's something that makes something not valid. Your imagination is the portal through to all this. So open your imagination. Don't disrespect it, because it's a huge tool and a great gift.
It is.
So imagine.
Yeah, absolutely. And just remember from last week, this is how we will be. This is a new form of healing, understanding that we're healing through our multidimensional self, not just healing a few bits of energy within us. It is all well, if I say new way of healing, it's the way we should have been doing it for a long time. But we've in this particular timeline, in this particular, in 2004, say, where we're coming to now, and this is why we want to we want to share this with you, even if you're a client of somebody. It's knowing that they can heal you on that multidimensional level, because when we're working with the time machine, you could look at the time machine and say, it's one way of seeing your own records. For instance, lots of ways of people getting to Akashic records, but I think we make that complicated, and there's just ways you can look at yourself in other dimensions and go, oh, that needs healing, and we just work in a little process to to bring that to us and have that heal, so you're in wholeness. So that we can't live an absolute fulfilled life if we're not in wholeness as well, and that's what we want to all work towards as well.
Absolutely. This isn't all just fun and a lark. There is a purpose behind it all.
Yes.
So whilst it is fun achieving that purpose, we are working towards a goal. So let's never lose sight of that goal.
Absolutely. Lovely. On that note, we think we think that's enough for you. Hopefully, we even want it to be mind blowing, because we want you to open up, to ideas that other things exist, and so that you can, see that as well. Lovely. So we'll see you next week. Bye for now.
Bye now.